What's that? Who's that? Oh, hello. Hey, we're from. We were told these guys were coming. This is the IKEA Virtual Open Home weekend. Hi, I'm Osher. This is Wolfie. Come on in. Come and have a look at our house. We're going to have a chat with Christine from IKEA after this. Do a bit of a Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything you see in our house today, don't hesitate to ask. Well, what can I say? Welcome to a living room. This is downstairs with the floor that time forgot from a beautiful original 1983 cork. I mean, how magnificent is that? In these times of isolation, this moves out of the way, and Georgia, our eldest, she's 16, she'll often do some quite intense YouTube workout situations here. I'll just do aerobics Oz style, which is pretty fun. This is our night light. It stays on all night because G sleeps down here. Come back on through to her room. She's, like I said, she's 16 and she's homeschooling at the moment, like every other kid her age. So we were a bit undergunned when it came to desk space. So I went to IKEA at Tempe and I fought through the aisles and I got my hands on the Mickey desk, the most incredibly sought after piece of furniture in that store. Even the cashier, even when I went to ring it up, the lady that scanned it was like, "Oh God, you got a Mickey?" It's like, "Yeah, I did." Even she was blown away. Georgia designed these. We went there and we got on the little design station with the person that works there, and it was really great. She helped us. Georgia designed all of these, and she picked all the bits and pieces that go in there. She loves that it lights up. She absolutely loves all the ways that she can keep all her fandangery bits and pieces. She's a big fan of it. Really, really loves these. I actually got someone to build them because, look, I'm just not that good with Allen keys. So we spent a few extra bucks and we got someone to build it. But I did install this under the direction from my wife. So this bit I put in. But all these things, yeah, she's built all these. She's designed all these, and I think that's really good because it gives you a real sense of ownership about this room, this space. It's her space. She spends a lot of time here because, like I said, she's homeschooling at the moment, so she's in here all day, all night. This is where I work most of the time when I'm not on set, which is always at the moment because we're not shooting right now. So I do a podcast twice a week. I also I do a bunch of voiceovers and things like that as well. And all my podcasts I do. Actually, I do 3 podcasts a week. I did a dad pod with Charlie Clausen as well. So I do all them on this microphone. So this is also where you'll get, all the voiceover stuff that you're probably familiar with. Like, so when you hear, I don't know, previously on The Bachelor, that's this microphone right here. So that's where that happens. And I've also got like the best lit Zoom calls in the nation. So, and what's important when you have a Zoom call or a Skype call for work is an expertly curated background. So this Billy bookcase has been really good for that. What's that? Oh, it's a Leica in the back of my shot. Oh, no. Oh, hang on. It's a Polaroid, a vintage Sun 600. If you can tell me what kind of camera this is in the Q&A afterwards, you get an extra 10 points. There's a bit of a clue. All right. And particularly if you can tell me the very famous cameraman whose name started with a W that used that, you get even more points. What else is there? There's a tiny little bass amp. That's the bass in there. The bass sits in there because small babies like to play with bass guitars. Come on upstairs. Snake plants. Snake plants, really important. If you have any kind of moisture issues in your home, this is a very old house. This house was built in 1906, so there's a lot of sandstone that likes to stay quite cold. These plants actually create their own breeze. They what's the word I'm looking for? They respire that powerfully. They create their own breeze, so they actually create air circulation. Remember I told you I got some other people to build the cupboards downstairs? That's because I built this, and you'll notice that if you have a set square, it won't fit. None of the angles are true. So once that happened, I'm like, I'm getting someone proper to build these things. Come through here, the kitchen cataclysm, sorry. Here we are, this is our whiteboard where we write everything. It's our quote of the day. You have the power. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius, he knew it was up 3,000 years ago. This is Gluten-Free Island, we like to call it. This is an IKEA bench that we got because I'm celiac. My food has to be prepared in a different part of the kitchen to everybody else. So we've had it for a couple of years now, which is why it's a bit worn through. But yeah, so when I'm preparing food or just preparing food that I'll eat, we'll prep it over here and all the tools and stuff. They're not called tools. What are they called? Implements. Knives, forks. Now, when you've got little kids and you've got a teenager, it's important sometimes that mummies and daddies have special time alone. And there's a very special room where special time alone happens, where mummy and daddy get sweaty. That's right. I'll show you. Up and out of the way. That's a traditional Fiji wall hanging there. It's up and out of the way so no one knows what we're doing. And this is where mum and dad ride bicycles. That's right. So this is my bike. This is Audrey's bike. We've got them on these trainers. It's a pretty standard. It's kind of like an exercise bike you have at your gym, but you get to use your own bicycle, so it's the right fit. And we use an online platform called Zwift. So when the little person on the screen rides up a mountain, it actually gets much harder to pedal. So there's thousands of people riding right now, and it's really good because in these times of isolation, like I'll be here. Audrey will be here. My brother will be up in Brisbane. We'll all be on Discord, so using a headset so we can talk to each other. So it's like riding together, which is really great, really, really great. And so you can get a decent hour in while baby's having a nap, and then you've got your ride done for the day. If you don't ride a bicycle, you'd be like, what are you guys talking about? If you ride bicycles, be like, that's a great idea. I should build myself a pain cave. It's been great to have you. Thank you so much for joining me. This little one needs a bit of a nap, so I'm going to pop him down. If you have any questions, make sure you line them up, and I'm going to go get in front of a very well curated bookcase, and I'll see you and Christine in just a moment.
Hey Osher, thanks so much for taking us through your home today. Really cool having us over. I'm Christine from IKEA, and I'm really looking forward to having a chat and hearing all about your home and your life at home with your family. But before I jump into the Q&A, I just want to say, what a cool home you have. There are so many cool spaces in your home. You really had me at that bike room though. Just before you were about to go up the stairs, I had no idea what you were going to tell us. So you got me there. But what a cool space you just took us into. So you ready for a chat? Are you feeling comfortable?
Absolutely. I'm at your service.
All right, let's start out with some first questions. At IKEA, we really love to dig into life at home. So can you tell us a little bit more about your life at home with your family and why it's so special to you?
Well, I think I think about, this sort of thing and what a home means. And for me, a home is a place of sanctuary, particularly in these times when we can control little about the outcomes of the outside world, less now that there's a pandemic on, right? I can't control people speeding through traffic. I can't control the queues at the supermarket. I can't control any of those things. But in this space, I can do a lot to control my outcomes, and I can control when the lights go on and off. I can control what the rooms look like. I can control what's in the fridge. I have a lot more control over this environment, so therefore I feel much more at peace here. And this is a place of sanctuary. It's a place to recharge. And, when I've, kind of recharged those batteries, then I'm able to go out into the world, into the unpredictability again.
I love that. It's so important right now, isn't it, that we just feel so connected to our home, and that our home gives us that peace of mind and that sanctuary that we're all craving at the moment, because everything is a bit turned upside down, of course. So you talk about your home and what it means to you, and are there any memories that you have in your space that you've started to create since you have your new house?
Oh, well, to be honest, we just moved in. So that's why it's a bit calamitous. We haven't been here very long, so it's still a bit upside down. Look, I think, the memories, that I, think, it's the one room where, we all congregate, which is obviously our living room. Audrey's gone and got an extra large size kind of play mat, that we roll around on with Wolfgang. And then Audrey and Georgia will they might do a workout in the middle of the day because, like I said, Georgia's been homeschooling, so she'll do a workout in the middle of the day with Audrey, and so they'll get on the mat and they'll train, and it's just delightful to, while it's weird not knowing what's going to happen in the next few months, it's really nice to be home with family, and it's lovely to connect on this level like we've never done before as a family.
So you have a teenager and you have a baby. So when you moved into the house, was there anything that you considered, how do you set up your space so that you're accommodating all of those different age levels and how are they finding the spaces in the home? What are some things that you found that you've done differently?
Well, for the first few months, we weren't able to. I'm in the bottom level now. We weren't actually able to be down here because the house is quite old, and the people that had it before us were quite old. And there was anyone that's lived in an old house in Sydney. I think there's something to do with the foundations. They were just put straight on slate, then dirt, and that slate just degenerates. And so there was a lot of water that had been coming up through the sandstone. So there was a lot of jackhammers, Christine. That's all I'm saying. There was jackhammers for a long time, but the jackhammers have stopped. And to be able to build such a glorious space for Georgia is really wonderful for us. We were in an apartment before this. The four of us were living in an apartment, and G just couldn't have her mates around. And last night she had 5 of her friends around, and they're all marvelous, powerful young women. They're all taller than me. They're all delightful, and hear them just chatting and laughing and giggling and talking and paying each other out, or like I think the last of them left around midnight last night. And Audrey and I are upstairs watching Ozark, and it's dark and horrible, but we just kept looking over at each other, just like, this is just the greatest, to be able to build a space where G can have, her friends around, and it's a place of sanctuary for them. It's a place of, it's like an ownership. They have a sense of ownership over this place. It's just such a delight. That I have an off-site secret podcast man cave is nice, but it's more about, for me, being able to provide her with that space to enter this phase of life where there is an amount of independence that is needed as you get older.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love to hear about Georgia's space, and you talked a lot about how the fact that she personalized and designed her own wardrobe. How is she finding the design now? I think that's just so cool. Teenagers, I think they have, like you said, that sense of ownership. They need to be able to do that. It's theirs.
Yeah, G loves it. Like her and Audrey, they sat with the consultant there at the store at Tempe in Sydney, and they worked it all out, and they figured out all the measurements. Audrey had done all the measurements before, and they figured out just what they wanted. And it was really easy for G to visualize what she wanted. And, she basically planned the whole thing out. And like I said, I had attempted to build one of those wardrobes before, and I was like, I'm just not cut out for this. I can at best, I can put a Malm together. I can put a Billy together. Like, that's about the upper limit of my flat pack ability. So when it came time to bring those wardrobes in, I just said to Audrey, so let's get some guys. All right, let's get some guys. And those 2 guys, they came in here, and I was like, made boom. It was up in like 4 hours. The whole thing was done. It was extraordinary. And look, yeah, G loves it. She's got these glass bottom things inside one of them where she keeps all her jewelry under this really flat drawer, so she can see all of her jewelry and be able to pull it out and visualize what she needs. And there's a lot of space for her clothes, and that little makeup space in the middle that she designed. She finds a lot of use for it. I'm really grateful that we were able to do that. And, because we were looking at other options as far as, other wardrobe options. And it just came to when it came to the crunch, it's like, look, if we get someone to build it, it's so much cheaper, and it's just as good as some of the, we were getting quoted a lot. But what we've got is absolutely perfect, and it's brilliant, and it's G's design, and I love it. I don't even live in the room, but G really likes it. Yeah.
It's like a dream come true for any teenager, isn't it? It's just like, I would kill for a wardrobe like that when I was her age.
Wow, I think the dream come true would be your own apartment and a credit card that is all and cable Wi-Fi. But this is the best we can do for now.
So when she planned her own wardrobe, what were some of the things that she said, I absolutely have to have that in my wardrobe? Was there anything where she said, I am not giving up this, I need this, because of this?
Was really, and I think the feature she enjoys the most, to be honest, is the lights. It's such a small addition to a wardrobe, but it makes such a world of difference to being able to find what you need and visualizing the right colors because it's a 4400. It's like daylight LED, so I think she enjoys the lights as far as a feature goes. She enjoys that the most.
Yeah, that's really great. And I love her room. She's personalized it. She's got a little dream catcher there up on the wall, and she's starting to put all of her things together. So, perfect for any teenager.
I'm not kidding about that. I'm not kidding about that desk, by the way, because she was on Zoom school for weeks, and we had another desk, but it just wasn't. The assignment she was doing, that she just needed more space. And Audrey got the text update from the store going, hey, we've got 20 of these desks here. And that was it. Boom, drop breakfast. Boom, in the car. Boom, straight there. And there was about 3 left. I just must have been a rush on these desks. And even when I checked out, even the lady with the laser gun, she's like, oh my God, you got one of these. Wow. Good for you. These ones are hard. These are hard to find. So I was particularly thrilled. And Georgia and Audrey built that one. And, but it's great.
That's really good. So you've designed a few of the rooms. You've talked about the upstairs room where you have the bikes, and you've got, your room that you're in right now. Is there any other room in your home that you think you want to, what's the next project you're going to tackle for redesigning?
Look, I think we are where we are right now. We just needed to make safe. Like I said, it's an old house, and there was a fair amount of stuff we needed to do to make sure it was going to be okay. So there was a fair amount of electrical and plumbing and things like that just so we could live in it. And now we're just kind of sit tight until we kind of figure out what we're going to do. But ultimately, Audrey and I, there's some stuff we want to do in the garden as far as growing as much of our own fruit and vegetables as we possibly can. And, ultimately, it'd be nice to be as off-grid as we possibly could right in the middle of the city. We've got a made in Bondi, which is about, 2 or 3 Ks from here. And in the middle of Bondi, he's off-grid. Except for sewerage, he's off-grid, which is extraordinary. All his own water, all his own power. He generates all that stuff. And, that's an absolute dream. Because that's the way of the future, It's to create a home that is extraordinarily energy efficient. And putting that investment in to the insulation, to the cladding, to the way the house is constructed, it might cost, this much up front. But when you look at how long we're going to live here, which is probably another 40, 50 years, over that 40, 50 years, you add those energy bills up, you're going to be saving heat. If you're drawing no power, and if you're heating your home super, super efficiently and cooling your home super efficiently, you're saving so much money over the course of the time you're living in the home. So that's, ultimately what we'd like to do here.
It's definitely the way of the future, I would say, sustainability and living sustainability and grow your own. There's this massive trend back to that lifestyle, I guess. And what else can we get out of it? And you mentioned a little bit about the tech in your house. You said you love to be able to walk in and turn the lights on. Have you got any kind of special tech in the house that you've installed or that works, really well for you?
Well, yes, because it's a house built in 1906. There are 500 millimeter thick sandstone walls all around us. Now, these are walls designed before anybody even thought of Wi-Fi. So I've had to put Cat5 cable all through the house and use a mesh Wi-Fi network because just your regular standard off-the-shelf Wi-Fi router, it won't get out of a room. It can't, the Wi-Fi signal cannot get through the walls. So we've had to be pretty creative with how we get the Wi-Fi into the home.
Yeah, for sure. We have a few audience questions. People want to ask you,
Sure.
There's a good question here about how much time do you spend in the recording studio?
Quite a bit. Quite a bit. I like I said, I do 3 podcasts a week. So I'm recording each one of those. I do a lot of voiceovers as well. So anytime you hear coming up on The Bachelor or whatever, that's this microphone here.
Love that.
That's me. All the Bondi Rescue stuff, all the Bachelor in Paradise. That's all that I do that from home, and I have done it ever since I was on Take 40 Australia, which is a radio show that I did years ago. I've kind of always had a studio in my house. I went to audio school a long time ago. I was a roadie and I went to audio school. So I've been kind of nerdy for microphones and audio tech my whole career. So I've always had a studio at home, and it's extraordinarily convenient to be able to have that flexibility. And so, yeah, this is where, I shoot a lot of video as well. So this is where I edit all that. And this is, obviously now I'm doing all my, podcasts over the internet. So yeah, I spend a fair amount of time down here. Look, the rest of the time, usually in the mornings, I'm upstairs in the living room because Wolf is teething quite significantly at the moment. So usually if he's up in the night, Audrey's with him and I'll sleep. And then whenever he wakes up, 6, whatever, 5, I'll get up with him and I'll take him all the way through to his morning nap at around 9. So, that morning time is just absolutely blissful. It's weird not working at the moment, but to have the mornings where Wolf and I roll around on the mat and, we've been listening to a lot of early 90s DJ Muggs hip hop. So we were listening to Black Sunday from Cypress Hill yesterday. And this morning we were listening to Funk Dubious. Wolfie really likes the double bass and authentic drum sounds. I like the Tales of Life from Los Angeles in the early 90s. But together, it's a beautiful time.
We have another question, and this one is about the flooring. You mentioned it when you first started talking. What kind of flooring is it?
Yeah, this is like a cork from the decade that style forgot. This is a 1983 cork installation that the previous owners, but we're the third owners of this house, by the way. For a house that's 116 years old, that's pretty good. So the previous owners put this in, but yeah, we're not going to touch it until it's time to redo it. This is how it's going to be, and that's fine.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, I'm totally impressed that you could name off a few IKEA pieces of furniture there when you were talking. It seemed like you were just spieling them off like you'd read the catalog or something before we chatted. So that was very impressive. Is there any IKEA piece of furniture that you really love, that maybe you don't have or that you do have that works really well for you?
What? Just trying to think of. Like I've always the Billy. Like there's a couple of things that are just kind of classic pieces of design that work really well, and they just don't change. I had I think you call it a Kallax now. I had one of them with all my records in it for so long, and it was just, you'd see even like the biggest. You'd see at home a photo in Q magazine, or back in the old days when we had magazines, you'd see photos of the biggest DJs in the world with their record collection behind them. And no matter how many millions of dollars they'd made, every one of them had this IKEA, this was the record storage of choice. This is particularly designed for 12-inch records. So before I moved overseas, I had all my records in that, but I don't have records anymore. So that was always a fun thing. What else? Yeah, who doesn't love a Billy? Come on. The Billy's the thing. Billy does the job.
And I love what you've done with it. You've got all the cameras there. How many cameras have you got in that Billy bookcase?
Don't look, let's not ask that question. That's like asking a man how many bicycles he has. Come on. You never ask a lady how old she is or how much she weighs. Never ask a man how many cameras or bicycle he owns. All right? I'll give you the easy answer is one more than I need and one less than I want.
It's never enough. I'm a total fan of that Polaroid, by the way. I think that is so cool.
Oh, there's a few actually. I've got one. Can you hold on for 1 second? I'll show you one I really like.
All right.
Right up there. I'm just going across the room to my I've got because they're vintage, so I've got a dehumidified fridge here. So when I do my podcast, when I go face to face with my podcast, I'm a photographer as well. So I shoot people's portraits. And so I shoot it on this, which is a 1961 Polaroid 110A rangefinder. and I've had it modified so it takes peel apart pack film.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so whenever you see the artwork for my podcast, it's a portrait that I've shot of my guest with this camera. This camera's been all over the world with me. It's I had it made for me up in Buffalo, New York, by a guy called Randy. It's a beautiful piece of design. But I'm just a fan of great design. You know, this is it's an extraordinary camera, and yeah, I'm a big fan of the whole Polaroid story as well. Edwin Land was Steve Jobs before Steve Jobs was Steve Jobs.
Absolutely. Well, Osher, thank you so much for having us over today and for sharing, about your family and your home and how you are living in your space. We've absolutely enjoyed being in your house today.
Well, look, thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful. I'm a big fan of obviously I remember the first IKEA store came to Brisbane. There was a queue down the highway to get in there, and like I said, great design is timeless. And I know you'd be hard pressed to find a home in the modern world without a piece of IKEA in it. That's for sure.
Amazing. Thanks again. See you soon. Thanks, Osher.
Bye-bye.
Bye.